giant cat family and you cross it over with the canine. That's not right. In nature, that would never happen. We, in this market, and the people who support this market, and the people who, majority of the people who shop at this market, are trying to keep things as natural as possible because our existence depends on that. So what they're doing with genetically modified organisms, they have to work at getting a cell from one species into another species. And they do that in a very interesting way. They end up taking they end up taking a gene and they alter it by putting enzymes to it to break it down into a smaller fragment so that it can be injected into a cell. Now, I don't know if any of you know out there what happens in a cell when you inject something into it. Now, they use vectors for this GMO. These vectors, what they are, believe it or not, are bacteria and viruses. Get a virus into your body and what happens? It replicates. It starts going crazy. And before you know it, you're sicker than a, I don't want to say that, sicker than a dog. That's not a good phrase because dogs are not sick. But it makes you very ill. You end up with all of these symptoms. Once again, symptoms because there's an imbalance in the body. A virus has taken over. All right, so what do they use in this genetically modified organisms and how they get these into the cells? They use a substance, they use bacteria, they use viruses. Because they know when that gets into a cell, it will replicate and it will reproduce that genetically modified organism over and over and over again. In your body, in a plant, whatever they decide to do with it. So what's wrong with that? It's dangerous. It is completely dangerous. First of all, when you're mixing different species totally, that's not healthy. And we think to ourselves, well, why? What is, you know, so what? We've got to take a look at how our bodies work. Our bodies work in a fine, organized manner. So you take and you alter the DNA structure in your body, and your body starts reproducing things that are not normal. All right? So for instance, there's a disease out there today called Morgellons disease. Morgellons disease, it's really interesting because a mom, whose last name is Morgellon, had a child. And all of a sudden this child wakes up and this child is feeling things crawling under its skin, feeling things stinging it. This child has these strange feelings going on. They take the child to doctors. The doctors go, it's all in your head. How many of you heard that? It's all in your head. Pretty soon this child starts having fibers growing out of his skin. The fibers are colored. They're fluorescent blue. I mean, they are bright colors. Try to pull the fibers out and it literally rips the skin to the point that the skin will not heal normally. This is going on. Look it up on the internet. There are lots of people out there with Morgellons disease. And all the doctors can say is, you're crazy, you think you got parasites, you're nuts, you need a psychologist. I'm sending you to a psychologist, psychiatrist. So they decided this mom pushed. I mean, that's what we have to do in our society. We've got to push. So this mom decided to push. She ended up taking the fibers to a forensic laboratory, only to find out that the forensic laboratory found out that the organisms that they found, this fiber that they found in this child, comes from a fungus that is genetically modified. It creates fibers, which they find in a lot of plants today. And it's called crown gall. Any of you farmers heard of that? Yeah, it's genetically modified organism. You are eating plant food that has been genetically modified. You are eating foods that have been genetically modified. There is a spray now that is out that is, it was developed for the grocery stores. And what it was developed for was to spray on your delicatessen food, your lunch meat, your vegetables, all of that good stuff. And what it's to do, it's to kill the bacteria. But it creates a problem. It's actually a virus to kill bacteria on the food so that you don't show up with food poisoning, which means, of course, they can leave it in the case a whole lot longer than what it should be left in the case. So what ends up happening, that virus kills bacteria, but it creates what's called listeria. Listeria is a deadly bacteria. So you see how this goes. What ends up happening is science steps in to take over where we are neglectful. If we do not raise our crops properly, scientists drop in and decide, okay, we need to make herbisprays. We need to make all kinds of things to treat our gardens with chemicals in order to keep the pests off. When you have enough proper minerals in the ground and the soil is properly prepared for plants, you don't get bugs on your plants. It's the same way with our bodies. If our bodies are healthy, we don't get viruses, we don't get bacteria. But my concern with genetically modified organisms is the fact that they are developed to be antibiotic resistant. Now, we hear a lot about antibiotics, you know, and we're all against antibiotics, but antibiotics are necessary. They are overused in our society, but at times they are extremely necessary. So what happens when you start having DNA replicate in your system that makes you antibiotic resistant? You've got a problem. And we have that problem in our society today in the hospitals. There's one disease out there called vancomycin-resistant disease, bacteria. Why? Because there is no antibiotic that'll kill you, or that will cure it, matter of fact, antibiotics, let me clue you in a little bit on antibiotics. Antibiotics do not kill bacteria. That's a misnomer out there. Antibiotics stop the proliferation of bacteria. It does not kill it. It stops the multiplication of it so that your body can get it under control once it's stopped replicating it. But it also stops the replication of your good bacteria in your body. And sad to say, the bad bacteria grows back faster. That's how we become antibiotic resistant. Because you think if you take an antibiotic, it kills all the good bacteria. How can it become resistant? Because you still have that bacteria in your system. But now it's become resistant to that antibiotic. That's why they keep reproducing, or that's why they keep making new and new and new antibiotics and trying them on everybody. Which comes to another thing about genetically modified organisms. The pharmaceutical company uses it too. You need to be careful as to what you are doing out there and how you are, looking for. I have a guide here. This guide you can get on, matter of fact, I printed it off the internet. It is called the Non-GMO Shopping Guide. You know, that's on the internet. You can find that, you can print it out, and you can start taking a look at the foods that are not genetically modified. Because the only way we are going to stop this is to quit buying it. FDA is not for us, people. Sorry, it's not. It hasn't been for years. They allow things to pass by without your notice. They don't bother to warn you what's going on. That took place back when Roosevelt was president, when polio struck him. And there was this big search for a polio vaccine because so many people were coming down with polio. And what they did was they developed a vaccine, and they thought they started out using dead cells, dead polio cells. Okay, so to encourage your body to build up a resistance against it. Well, what ended up happening was some of the companies that were developing the vaccine ended up putting live vaccine in. So polio began to become rampant again, and the FDA, the people who are designing these polios are scratching their head going, what in the world happened? What's going on? Why is everybody still getting polio? We're giving them a polio vaccine. Well, here they found out some of the batches had live vaccine in them. What did they do? Did they warn people to watch out, don't get vaccines right now? No, they had a huge batch made up. The FDA shut it up. They decided the public doesn't need to know about this because it's going to cause a panic. So let's keep it hush-hush. So, with what they're doing with genetically modified organisms, I am telling you, they will not reveal what is going on in our society today. You look at the outbreaks of E. coli. E. coli is one of the major vectors that they use for genetically modified organisms to get it into your system. You look at the outbreaks of E. coli all of a sudden. Seem kind of coincidental? I think it's coincidental. When I see huge outbreaks of different symptoms, I have people coming to me now with symptoms of severe knee issues. Never had knee issues before. Now they've got severe knee issues, weak muscles. When I get a rash of people coming into my office with symptoms like this, I have to think, what is going on? What is going on that we don't know about? All of a sudden, there'll be a rash of this certain virus, certain flu going around. Right. There was this last flu. It took weeks, months to get over. Where did you get it from?
And we all tested for GMO.
Right. Right. Is it a genetically modified organism that has been sprayed on your food and you are not aware of it? Because they don't have to mark it. They do not have to label our food that it's been genetically modified. Once those organisms get into your system, we have no, and the scientists don't either, have no clue whatsoever that is going to do to us. How it is going to change. Genetically modified organisms actually can restructure your organs and your glands and your intestinal system, your digestive system. So, what I'm here to tell you, stop buying it. We all have to do this. If we don't all do this, if we don't all stop buying genetically modified organisms, organisms that are in our foods, foods that are produced with genetically modified organisms, they're going to keep doing it. It's been known that the public is what stops things from continuing on. Monsanto is one of the major productions of genetically modified organisms. The genetically modified organism foods that you need to be aware of are corn. Corn is a big genetically modified organism. How much corn in the cob do you eat all summer long when it comes to fruition? Lots of it. Do you bother to see if it's been genetically modified? The other thing that I found out about corn too, which is quite interesting, my husband used to deliver seed for a friend of his to farmers. One day a bag broke open. He was always curious because the bag, the outside of the bag, and this is corn that you eat, the outside of the bag had crossbones and skulls all over it. He thought that was kind of strange. So one day, one of the bags broke open, and all of a sudden, these vibrant, fluorescent pink kernels of corn come out of the bag. They are so treated with fungicides, moldicides, you name it, sides, and it was so heavily treated that the whole kernel was fluorescent pink. So that's going into the ground, and that is the beginning of your plant. It already has chemicals in it. Soybeans. Soybeans are another big item. And if you're a vegetarian and you're basing your life on soybeans, I'd be careful, because that is one of the major foods that is genetically modified. How does that play out? Remember when I was here, and those of you that weren't here for my last talk, I was encouraging you to stay out of boxes, bags, and cans. Why? Corn syrup, soybean oil, soybean, canola oil, cottonseed oil. Did anybody ever, do you really enjoy eating cotton? Do you eat cotton? No, you don't. Why? Because it's not digestible. Yeah, I don't even think you could really, I've never tried it, but I don't even think you could really chew it up. Okay, so why are you doing cottonseed oil? Beyond me. Sugar beets. Hawaiian papaya. We think things that come from Hawaii might be more natural. Now there are some zucchinis and some yellow squash that are being genetically modified. That's all in this guide. This guide is handy. The other thing that the genetically modified organisms, do you notice the problem that we have with infertility today? There is a huge problem with infertility today. A lot of poor young women out there who would love to have families who cannot have families. That's what genetically modified organisms can do. Create infertility. Immune system problems. When you get sick, do you notice that your sickness lasts longer and longer and longer? You don't get over it quick anymore. Could it be genetically modified organisms that are creating it? Accelerated aging. We're all trying to stay young. And here they're going to accelerate our aging by putting genetically modified organisms in our food. Look at the rampant problem with diabetes today. Genetically modified organisms create a faulty insulation regulation in your system. Messes with your sugar handling. So you go and you eat sugar, which has been mixed with also, it's not only cane sugar that you're eating, but you're also eating beet sugar. Beet sugar is one of the foods that is genetically modified. So now you've got a sugar handling problem. That's becoming rampant. It changes your major organs and your gastrointestinal system. Have I scared you enough yet? I'm not only here to scare you, I'm here to inform you, because you don't know this stuff. You're not aware of it. You know a little bit about it, and it's just like a little buzzword out there, and oh yeah, we need to watch out for that. But I'm telling you, we as a society need to put a halt to this stuff. We need to quit buying it, because that is the only thing that these big companies listen to, is when you stop buying it, there's no more money in their pocket, and they're going to drop it. That's why when you go to the grocery store and you found something you really like and you're purchasing it, and then all of a sudden you go to the store and it's not on the shelf anymore. Well, you think it's on the shelf because you're buying it, so everybody else has to be buying it. Well, nobody else is. It's your product. You liked it. You're buying it. Well, it's not selling enough, so they take it off the shelf, and pretty soon the manufacturer quits making it because it's not selling. It's not bringing in the money. So if you stop buying genetically modified food, they will quit doing it. So if there is any questions, I'm free for talking to. So you can see me afterwards. I will be more than glad to answer the questions if I have the answers. If I don't have the answers, I'll take your information and I'll get you the answers. That's what we're all about. Okay, so that's what Anderson Health, that's what I do. I'm here to educate. I'm here to educate you individually in my sessions to help you learn more about your body. I'm here to educate you publicly, to help us to make a stand so that they quit messing with us. All right? They keep messing with our bodies. And we don't want them to mess with our bodies anymore. There's already too much going on in our society. So thank you very much, and I'll be back.
You know, in London, in Europe, they banned this. So why is it acceptable here? Just kind of blows my mind. The other thing also with not buying these products, because let's face it, we don't know what's genetically modified and what's not. There's a lot of petitions going on right now, and I get those through the farmer market email. If you'd like to receive those, I always forward those on. I have my sign-up list for the farmer market email here in the Ask Your Grower booth. Put your email address down. Anytime I get a petition to stop GMOs, I will... There's a snake, and it's big.
I'm afraid I'm going to take it.
I'll forward that email to you, and so you can also help stop GMOs. So once again, that's Jeannie Anderson from Anderson Health Emporium. She's an amazing person that does great work with individuals. Terry Steele's here. He's going to be playing the saxophone for the next 45 minutes, so enjoy him. And children, make sure you do some carrot painting.